Hello, everyone. This is Nick here, and happy Thanksgiving to all those who celebrate. Wishing all of you and your families a good day during these difficult times, and I hope each and every one of you remains safe and healthy throughout the holiday season. That being said, today's video marks the third content-oriented video on my channel, but also the first installment to my What Is This playlist, where I explore abstract ideas and concepts. This one is titled What Is This? Love. Well, to say the least, love is complicated. Across time and culture, it has been interpreted in countless ways, and even today, the term can describe a multitude of different connections. You can love people, objects, feelings, and with higher resolution analysis, the list can grow infinitely. But for a moment, let's highlight the category of people. Within it, you can love your family members, your friends, a significant other, your neighbor, just about anyone. But although these relationships can be described as love, you wouldn't describe your love between family members as the same as love between a significant other. Keeping that in mind, we can see that love is a rather broad term, but in the most fundamental way, it describes a strong feeling of liking and care. And to explore in a single video every dimension of this sensation would be nothing short of madness. Instead, I plan to highlight the intimate attraction or romantic love, the kind of love we most associate with the term itself, and the kind of love shared between significant others. In specific, I plan to examine the origins of love from an evolutionary standpoint, interpretations of love across culture, and finish off with a more philosophical approach to thinking about love. So, let's go ahead and dive right in. Love, in a nutshell, serves as a means to ensure the survival of a species. In other words, the feelings experienced that we know as love is a drive, mostly stemming from the unconscious, that influences you to desire someone. This initial drive can be termed lust, where mating is the primary objective. Sometimes in biology, this is all that is felt, and nothing more comes. But in some species, like human beings, this drive can transition to a different kind of connection, called attraction. This is more of a relationship, where the love no longer serves simply to add numbers to the population of the species, but serves to commit yourself to a single individual within the species as a long-term mate. This love, then, can later transform into attachment, which no longer depends on neurotransmitters or brain chemicals to keep you interested and engaged. Instead, this form of love is more so related to a keen liking and devotion to an individual, which tends to happen as we spend more time with somebody. This phenomenon is called the mere exposure effect, and works like a positive feedback loop for a couple that remains interdependent. Evolutionary speaking, this makes perfect sense, since mates bear offspring, and when compared to other animals on Earth, human beings require an enormous amount of parental care and stimulus to properly develop mentally into an independent individual. Thus, the attachment, love style, and mere exposure effect work to increase the chances two mates remain interconnected to ensure that any offspring the couple bears grows into competency. This explanation has hardly scratched the surface to the complexity of the scientific explanation to love, so if you wish to learn more, I'll go ahead and link some videos in the description that will be a bit more thorough. Now let's go ahead and switch gears and look at love from a cultural perspective, where we'll start with ancient Greece. Plato wrote The Origin of Love, a mythical story to explain how the feeling came to be. To quickly summarize, Plato explained that men, women, and hermaphrodites, persons with male and female characteristics, were all originally 8-limbed spherical entities, rolling around Earth with no order or purpose. Angered by this, as the gods often were, Zeus decided to cut the entities into two, creating pairs of 4-limbed creatures, which are how we are now. And Plato went on to explain that love is the pursuit of finding your other half to become once again whole. Now, in a literal sense, this is obviously far-fetched, but symbolically this shows that the Greeks' idea of love is to make oneself whole, and that life on earth has purpose nested in the pursuit to becoming one with another. I think largely this ideology has significantly influenced Western culture, but in other places around the world, such as the following two examples, love is seen a bit differently. Traditional Chinese ideas on love stem from Confucianism, a belief system based on the philosophical teachings of Confucius, which heavily influenced Asia around 500 BCE. In it, the most valued expressions of love mostly include things like loyalty, conformity, and compassion. Not to say any of these things aren't valued in other cultures, but in Confucius' belief, many fractions of life, including love, are often believed so as to best benefit the society. That being said, acts of love often fall in line with the acts of virtue, where the greatest expressions of love is not shown through intimacy, but instead through honoring your lover by doing what is expected of you based on your societal niche. Put another way, Confucianists believe that a husband should act as a junzi, or ideal man, and thus by acting as one, a husband is showing his wife and family the greatest respect and the most ideal form of love. In Hinduism and Buddhism, religions originating in India some 4,000 and 2,500 years ago respectively, love is most associated with kama, described as sexual love. In Buddhism, it is believed that kama is an obstacle to enlightenment, as it is a selfish desire. The Buddhists believe that to be a good Buddhavista, one who pursues enlightenment, you must abandon this form of love and instead take on a more intrapersonal love called metta, or self-love. By doing so successfully, which is by no means an easy feat, you overcome the blinding internal suffering generated by kama and instead open up to the suffering of the greater world around you, ultimately to help those within it and thus come closer to enlightenment. Hinduism seems more to value kama, but is certainly not ignorant to its consequences. To describe exactly what I mean, I'll briefly explain a myth, the burning of kama. For context, Lord Shiva, a deity known as the auspicious or favorable one, was meditating in a cave after the loss of his beloved wife, Sati, god of marriage. She was then reincarnated into a new deity, Parvati, god of fertility, unbeknownst to Shiva. The deity Kamadeva, god of love, wanted to bring the two together, and thus brought Parvati to the cave where Lord Shiva meditated. Before this, all the efforts of every deity had failed to wake Shiva from meditation, but with a single arrow from Kamadeva's bow, Shiva awoke and saw the beautiful Parvati. Nearly lost with love and desire, Shiva knew something spiritual was at play, and shortly after noticed Kamadeva holding his bow. Enraged, Shiva opened his third eye while facing Kamadeva, emitting a beam of destruction that obliterated him to ash. Parvati, frightened by what she saw, escaped before any more harm could be done. The symbolism of the myth is that Shiva destroyed Kamadeva, a manifestation of kama, or love, so as to avoid the suffering that comes with desire and attachment, represented by Sati and Parvati. In other words, by ridding yourself of kama, you can avoid the inevitable pain and anger that comes with love. To switch gears once more, from a philosophical standpoint, love boils down to the argument of why. Not so much why does one love or how does one love, both somewhat objective. No, instead I personally find the debate of why should one love significantly more intriguing. And I think what we have discussed in the video thus far can help us establish the basis for either side of the debate. From the perspective of science, the value of love is to ensure the survival of your species and your genes, though the reason behind the feeling of love comes from the rush of chemicals and reactions within the mind that elicit positive feelings. Things like dopamine, serotonin, and many more are released in these early stages of love, the lust and attachment phase, in strong surges. Thus, an argument that it simply feels good to be in love can be made. However, from the myths of Hinduism and beliefs of Buddhistas, we know that by allowing yourself to fall in love, you open a doorway both to pleasures and countless pains. Emotions like anxiety, distrust, fear, anger, frustration, and countless more sub-emotions and sub-feelings are to be expected when in a relationship with another conscious being. To explain, you can wish and expect for them to act one way, but because they are an individual with their own thoughts and intentions, you have no control over their action, which in turn shows that love can be a source of great pain and misfortune. This perfectly leads to the Confucius beliefs of love, whereby if we do love someone, we must abide by the expectations of said lover, so that we can create an environment of perfect love in essence. So to love, you must act by the expectations of the lover, and by doing so you can avoid these negative consequences that can come with love. But should one have to act any certain way in order to experience true love? For it was Plato in his allegory where he explained love as the pursuit to reunite with your other half. Such a proposition implies that the two halves make a whole, and thus whatever it is they are when together is what they were meant to be. And with this in mind, any ideas on conformity seems to suggest anyone who needs to conform must not yet have found their proper second half. And so, we are left to wonder, is love even worth it? Well, one way or another, it is a decision we cannot make, as love in my opinion is completely out of our conscious control. But when you do find yourself with Kama's arrow in your chest, keep in mind that if love should be anything, it should at least be pleasing. Alright guys, well that about does it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and show me by leaving a like or giving your thoughts in the comments section below. This channel is still brand new and I'm trying to have about 12 videos under my belt before I start really trying to grow the channel. With that being said, if you like this content, check out my other videos. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Till next time, take it easy.